Okay, I think we should be live here. So welcome everybody. Yeah, this is our session on preparing your IAC video presentation, in which we're going to tell everything we know about how to prepare and submit your video for the 2021 IAC. This session is hosted by the IAF Public Speaking and Presentation Skills Lab. And my name is Patrick Hamburg. I'm the chair of the IAF Workforce Development and Young Professional Program Committee. I'm joined today by Carol Cornett and Scott Madry. Carol is International Space University faculty, as you can see here. She's ICU Academic Council Chair and also a member of several IAF committees, the Space Education Outreach Committee and the Workforce Development and Young Professional Program Committee. Scott is at ISU and also the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He's also a member of the aforementioned committee and the corresponding member of the International Academy of Astronautics. So as for the schedule for this event, we're doing this introduction here and then going through the timeline of the process for submitting your video, and then talk about how you should put this video together and give you any tips on the video and how you prepare your PowerPoint. So if you have any questions during this session, you can go to Slido. So go to sli.do and put in the code IFPSBLAB, I believe. There should be a link in the video description on YouTube. So if you go down, you can see that and you can submit your questions here. If you're watching this not live, so just as a rebroadcast on YouTube, you can also put in any questions in the video comments if you like, and we'll try to get to your questions. So with that, I hope you enjoy this session, and you can also from our committee from under IAF Young Professionals on YouTube, you can also find other videos from the past and also in the future. But so if you enjoy this, you can also look for videos there. But meanwhile, we'll just go to the content here, and I'll pass it on to Scott for the first part.
Excellent. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We're very happy to be here. I hope this will be useful for you. First thing I want to say is congratulations. You've had a paper accepted. And for this upcoming IAC in Dubai, we received over 3,370 submissions, proposed papers for 182 regular technical sessions from all around the world, and you were selected. And so you should be very pleased, so you should be very proud. But that also means that you still have some work to do. And so now you're going to have to write your paper. And also this year, we have a requirement that you do one of these online videos. And what we're going to talk to you about today is exactly how you need to proceed in order to successfully submit your online video. So one of the interesting things that we did, we asked the people, the Secretariat in Paris, to please send an email out to everyone who had a paper accepted and ask them just 5 basic questions to help us understand better the audience that we have. And we received 143 responses, and it's very interesting. If we asked, is this your first paper that you've ever had accepted at IAC? And about 60% of you said yes. And also over 70% said that English is not your first or native language. And we also asked, how comfortable do you feel in your preparations for the upcoming events? And most of you felt comfortable about your presentation skills, about putting your PowerPoint program together. But less of you felt comfortable about what you have to do to submit this required video. And so that's the reason we're doing this webinar, is to assist you, to help guide you through this process. And we really hope it will be useful for you. So I'm going to turn it over to my good friend and colleague, Carol, who's going to talk to you about some of the specific details.
Hello, everyone. First of all, you need to go to the website here for the IAF and get the guidelines for your presentation. And please follow these carefully because they are specific to IAF. Even if you've made a video before, what you have to do here may be quite different. And please start early. Do not wait until the last minute to do this, because you're going to have several things that you need to pay attention to, and it's going to take you some time. Now, in the next slide, I want to talk about more of the paper. Here is the next slide, I believe. Yeah, thank you. The video lecture has to be uploaded into the restricted area. You already know about this because it's the same place that you put your abstract, and it's the same place you're going to put your paper. Your deadline is very important, 17th of September, which is just a little over a month away. And remember, those of you who are in different time zones, the CET Paris time zone is the deadline, not midnight where you live, perhaps, but midnight where they are. And please don't try to upload in the last hour or half an hour before the deadline, because so many people will do that your video may get lost, the system may go down. So please try to prepare so that you do not wait until 11 or 11:30 at night before the deadline. In the next slide, you can submit by uploading here. You've seen this little screenshot before. It's the same sign-in place that you used. And so you can go there, and if for some reason you forget your password or it doesn't work, you can get a new password right away. So now, if you create your PowerPoint, remember, do not use many slides. This is only a 10-minute PowerPoint. And so you can use Zoom or Open Broadcast, whatever you want to use to make your video, and just follow the guidelines that the IAF gives you for how you need to present this and prepare it. Back to Scott.
Here's some more specifics on exactly what you have to do. Your presentation can be no longer than 10 minutes, and the system will actually cut you off at 10 minutes. So it's a very smart thing to do to practice, time yourself, because the worst thing would be to have the last important thing you want to talk about be cut off. So time yourself. It cannot be more than 10 minutes long. And it will automatically cut you off at 10 minutes. Also, your uploaded file can be no larger than 500 megabytes, and you cannot do any zipping or compression. It will only accept MP4 or .mov formats. So less than 10 minutes, smaller than 500 megabytes, and your file must be either an MP4 or a .mov format. Your aspect ratio should be 16:9, and a lot of people still use 5:4. It's required that your video be in 16:9, and it's very simple if you're using PowerPoint to change the aspect ratio. If you don't know how, just Google how do I change aspect ratio in PowerPoint. It's very simple, just a couple of clicks. It's very important that you use a headset or earbuds with a mic. Using a built-in camera on your computer really does not work nearly as well. And you also want to pay attention to the lighting. Doing this with in a dark room where you can't see your face, it's very important that you think about these issues before you do your final presentation. And even if you have some difficulty in understanding the directions on the IAF website, and I've been through all of them, and it's quite clear, but there are lots of other resources out there on the web. So you can just go to YouTube and talk about record a presentation in PowerPoint, and you'll get, excuse me, a variety of different YouTube videos that will walk you through how to do this. I just did a screenshot of one here. And one thing to remember, and we'll mention this again, is when you do this, especially in PowerPoint, it will put your face down in a small box. And so you need to remember to think about what you're going to look like and where that box with your face is going to be in the actual final product. So as Carol said, please don't wait until the last second. This is a little complicated and you want to do it right. So please take some time to do this. You never know, your future boss may be watching this. So you want to do a good job with this. And as Carol said, the system may become overwhelmed at the last moment. So it's a good idea to get this in work and to make sure that you get it done correctly and in time. And also, it's very important that you remember that you must register. The lead author of your paper must be registered on the system by the 4th of October. And if the author is not registered by this date, then you will not be able to present and your materials will not be included. The IAC has a firm no paper, no podium policy, and the deadline this year is for October. So even if you get your video in, if you're not registered by that date, you will not be included in the program. So your presentation must be in English. IAF does not provide a PowerPoint template, so you can use any template. It's our experience that using a light background with black or dark text, as you're looking here, really is more readable than a lot of space people like the black background with white or yellow text, but it really helps to, it's more readable if it's a light background. Be sure to use a legible font size. You want it to be readable. And please, please add graphics, unlike this slide you're looking at. Don't have slides which are just all text or all formulas. It's a very good idea just to put some graphics on each page, add some color, add some interest. You want to dress up for this video. The IAF, the IAC is a very formal event. It's a coat and tie event. And so you want to fit in to the culture of the IAC. And so you want to dress up. If you're a student, please don't just be in your t-shirt like you normally wear every day. You want to dress up, you want to look good and be a little bit more formal in your style, perhaps, than you normally are. Very importantly for all of you, native English speakers and non-native English speakers, please speak slowly. The whole idea here is to communicate effectively. You're speaking to a very international, intercultural, very broad, interdisciplinary community. And the goal is to communicate. So speak slowly. Please speak a little more slowly than you normally would. Do not rush through. Don't pack 20 minutes into a 10-minute presentation. And also be sure to put your contact info, social media, all those kinds of things in your last slide so that people can get in touch with you.
Now, in preparation, you should make 1 or 2 short video clips and look for the following problems. You need to watch yourself so that you can find these, because if you just do this once, many of these things will probably not be taken care of, and you want to look your best. So be sure that you have good sound and lighting. Sometimes you can help with a light ring like this. I have a light ring here that I'm using, and these things will help, not completely omit, but will help those of you who have glasses, particularly. Like you can see, if I move my head around, I get different glare. But if I have the light ring, it can help me center. If you have windows or lights behind you, you need to screen those out because your face will be dark with light behind you. So you need to light from above and from the sides so that your face is even. You see Scott's face. He has a light that he just set up, and his face is completely visible, and the color is uniform. So experiment also with backgrounds. You don't want a background that has a lot of stuff in it, because that will compete for the attention of your viewers. They may see something in the background, they want to know what it is, and they'll be more interested in that than in you. So have a background that doesn't compete with you. You can also, here's a I think it's a link for Room Rater on Twitter or on MySpace maybe, but you can go to that and look at how people design their rooms. Now, in the next slide, we would like to talk more about what you look like. If you wear glasses, just like I said, check for the reflection. You can see that depending on where I'm sitting, I have less reflection or more. Even moving your head, see how that does? So be sure that your glasses have the least reflection possible. Also, extraneous noises or movement in the room, like a ceiling fan or an open window, can be very distracting. You need quiet, and you need no distractions from either mechanical things or outside noises. Put yourself in a place where you can be clearly seen, not too close to the camera like this, and not too far away, but just find a good balance where your face can be seen and you look good. And again, as Scott said, if you have your face down in one corner, choose carefully. Also, the business dress is the safest choice. Remember, it is a formal event. So do dress well, and you can look at different outfits you have in your practice videos and see how you think you look best. Also, ladies and gentlemen, street makeup, your normal makeup, is not really the best for making a web video. So please look at this link. It can tell you how to look your best online. And you know, in every TV show and interview, people always have been made up in advance. So even some of the guys, you might be able to take a few tips from this link. Now I'm going to turn it back to Scott.
Okay, so those are all really helpful, useful things to think about. We have just a few more suggestions for you. Particularly if you're not a native English speaker, it's a really good idea to find a native English speaker to read and copy edit both your PowerPoint and what you're going to say before you do this, just to make sure that you are not making any simple mistakes. Again, the whole idea is to communicate effectively. Please don't just read some text. Speak to your audience. You want to talk to your audience and let your PowerPoint, your slides stand alone, but don't just read what's on the slides. The people watching can read it by themselves. Remember, as we've said before, you're speaking to a broad international community from many perspectives, many disciplines. So please speak a little bit slower than you normally would so that everyone can understand. please limit TLAs. If you don't know what TLAs are, that's 3-letter acronyms. In space, we have a zillion of them. And don't assume that everyone who's going to be watching your video or your final presentation in Dubai is going to know all of those acronyms. So please limit these acronyms, and at the very least, explain the full acronym on your first use. And be careful of using too much jargon. You want to aim for a slightly broader audience. Of course, every presentation, every video is different. If you're doing a policy or law subject, it's going to be very different than if you're doing astrodynamics. And of course, you need to speak to your audience, but you want to speak to a slightly broader audience. So be careful of using jargon and lots and lots of 3-letter acronyms. Don't pack too much in. The rule of thumb is 1 slide per minute, 10 minutes. You should not have any more than 10 slides, preferably less. And focus on the key points. Remember, you can always refer people to your full paper. So you don't want to cram your full paper into a 10-minute video. You want to hit the very high points and be sure that you leave enough time to focus on the key results about what's important, what you did, and why this is important for people to listen to. You can upload a portrait and a short bio, so do it. Why not? As I said, your future boss might be watching this. IAF will ask you if they can archive your presentation, and of course, your answer should be yes. What's the point of doing all this if people can't see it? The video lectures will all be accessible to all the Congress participants, which is a wonderful thing. And if you have any questions at all, if you have any problems, if you run into difficulties, you can always contact support at iafastro.org. They're here to help you succeed. And please remember, when you arrive in Dubai, if you haven't done your travel arrangements yet, be sure to arrive in time, because the Sunday before the Congress begins, Carol and I will be presenting a workshop, a live workshop at the venue on improving your presentation skills in the specific context of the IAC. And this will be held on Sunday, October 24th, starting at 1 o'clock. It will be in the venue, in the Congress Center. So you can go in, you can register if you get a little early, and you can come and participate in the live workshop that Carol and I will be holding. And this is free to all IAC participants. So please take advantage of this. Please join us. And also, as Patrick said, we do offer other webinars on multiple different topics throughout the year. So we offer a webinar on how to author your paper, how to succeed in writing your abstract, how to succeed in putting together your presentation, all with the goal of trying to help you to succeed at the Congress. So that's pretty much what we wanted to present to you. And we designed this in such a way that we leave plenty of time to have discussion and questions. And so this is your chance. And Patrick mentioned at the beginning that you can do this on a Slido. And so we would like to see if you have any questions or comments or ideas, and we'd love to answer your questions. And if you're watching this in a recorded version, please feel free to ask your questions online at the support at IAF Astro website. So I'll turn it over to Patrick and we'll see if we have any questions.
Yeah, we actually do have a couple of questions. So I assume that people found their way to Slido. The first question is actually something you may have basically just answered. Will this video be recorded and available on YouTube? And the answer to that is yes. After the event, it will be just available on the IAF YouTube channel. So you can re-watch it and later on. And if you have additional questions after this video, as I said before, you can post them in the comment section and then under the video, or send an email to the support at iafastro.org, the email that Scott just mentioned. Then the next question is maybe an interesting one to answer. So Scott and Carol, how do you overcome the fear of public speaking?
Oh, that's a great question. And the first thing that I would say is you are not alone. Many of the world's greatest performers, actors, musicians, dancers, and orators, public speakers, had terrible stage fright and struggled mightily to overcome this. So the first thing I would say is you're not alone. There are a lot of people who have this, and it can be overcome. The easiest thing I'll say, and then I'll hand it off to Carol, is the key in my mind is to practice. You have to try to become acclimated to speaking in public. And so the easiest thing to do is just practice and find opportunities where you can speak. And the more you do it, the less afraid you will be. But take heart, because a lot of people, you would be very surprised, some of the names of people who suffer bad stage fright and who had to overcome this and who have become very famous names who had to struggle through this fear. But you can do this, you can do this. The key thing is just try to find some opportunities and practice as much as you can. Carol?
Yes, I would encourage you also, if this is your first time presenting and you know that there are going to be many people in the room, if you have a friend or colleague who can attend your talk with you so that you have a person to focus on and speak directly to them, it's someone you know. If you don't have a friend or colleague that can come, pick one or two people in the room to focus on so that you make the entire room kind of disappear in your mind. Speak to a person on the left-hand side of the room and on the right-hand. So it looks like you're taking in the whole audience, but you don't have to see the whole audience. You can focus on one or two people. And sometimes that really helps.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And in particular also for the video, if you're doing it at home in your familiar room, in your familiar setting, then that maybe helps a bit, even though you might be thinking about who is actually watching later on. And I think the practice comment is important also for the maybe for the next question, which is how do you speak with confidence and sound better? And I think here also practice comes in. But any other tips from you, Scott or Carol?
Carol, go first.
Well, I was going to say this is something that we'll be discussing in the workshop as well on Sunday. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes if you get this kind of information or you can watch other people doing it live, like you will be there, that will give you some tips. But I think when you practice, that you should try to practice in front of or a couple of colleagues or even family members and get feedback from them about things that you may do that you may not know you're doing. And they can help you reduce like extra movements that you might not know you're making, or ways of holding your head or looking at people that might be distracting. And then you can get that feedback and incorporate it into your video. That's why we say do some practice, short practice tapes, so that you can see this and focus on your message. You want to tell people what's important to you, and don't be diverted by like questions in the middle. You can ask people, for example, to hold their questions until the end, and that will help you keep focus. And remember, if you speak slowly and clearly, that gives you time to breathe. It gives you time to focus. Don't rush. Rushing will make you make mistakes. So just be calm, be cool, go slowly, and that will help you center and get rid of a little bit of that anxiety. But you need to know it's okay to be a little nervous. Being nervous is not a bad thing. And even the most experienced performers and speakers will tell you that being a little nervous or anxious really can help you be on point. Scott?
The thing that I would add, and you know, Carol and I have been teaching these programs all around the world for many years. And we always tell people a good thing to do is try to become a student of good public speaking. And it's a skill like any other. It's like driving a car. It's like learning how to do PowerPoint. And anyone can learn how to do this, but become a student of good public speaking, and particularly at places like the IAC Congress. You'll see so many presentations, and I will be honest and say you will see a lot of very bad presentations, people who just don't have the skills. They know what they're talking about, they don't know how to present it. And then you will also see some fantastic presentations that are enthralling and just capture your imagination. And so become a student of these. Watch people who you like, how they do it, and learn some tricks about their pacing, how slowly they speak, how they make eye contact with the audience. And then also learn from every bad presentation you see at your work, at your university, in your community, your church, in your professional activities like the IAC. You'll see some bad presenters. And so learn from them, learn from their mistakes. Some people rock back and forth. They have no idea that they're doing it. It's just a nervous habit and so watch how people do this. And every presentation you attend, every presentation at the IAC, study and rate this person and say, wow, they did this. That was really good. I like that. I can learn from that, and also learn from every person who does not do a very good job and say, wow, I'm going to avoid doing that. So the best thing to do is become a lifelong student of public speaking, and I promise it will help you tremendously in your career.
Yeah, agreed. And the next question sort of ties into that. So basically, what strategies should be used to keep viewers engaged and interested? So I guess it's in part it's being the student that you just talked about. So be engaging in your talking, but as far as the content is concerned, Carol, Scott, any pointers there?
Oh, Carol, we lost you.
Okay.
Sorry, my mute went on. One of the most important things is eye contact, and that's why Scott says, don't read your paper. If you're communicating, you need to be looking at people. And even if you're only focusing on one person, facing the front so that people know that you're looking at them, even if you're not looking at all of them, is a good way. Also, in your PowerPoint, as Scott said, use some graphics because those kinds of things also keep people's interest. You may have noticed that Scott put a small cartoon in our presentation, and people can look at things like that, read the little messages, and that keeps them engaged. Also, if you do happen to have something that is a demo, for example, we have had participants who brought a model of their particular research project and had it in the room to show people. And that's another way that you, if you happen to have something like that, that's another way that you can keep audience interest. Another thing that you can do is you can ask the audience a question at the like, how many of you something, you know, whatever it is that is relevant to your presentation, and that will engage them as well because you'll get a show of hands or whatever, and that helps them keep listening to you. Scott?
All very good comments. Yes, eye contact, talk to someone, don't talk to an audience. If you're speaking at an IAC technical program and you have maybe 30 people in the audience, make eye contact with almost every one of those people in the course of your talk. Carol's absolutely right in everything that she said. Another aspect to this is try to learn how to read your audience. Are they beginning to look bored? Are they starting to look through their programs? One of the things we always tell people, we will again in Dubai, don't be insulted if people get up and leave or come in the middle. There are thousands of people, hundreds of presentations. And so one way you can be more effective is to tune out the distractions. You will have lots of distractions. There'll be sounds of people coming in and out of the room. People will get up and leave. Don't be insulted. It's just the way the IAC is. Sometimes the slides won't advance. Sometimes your microphone goes off. The key thing is just keep going. Learn how to tune out the distractions, and that will help you also keep contact with the audience.
Another aspect is, I think, be passionate about what you speak and speak about things that you're passionate about potentially. So basically, if your topic, I'm sure you know everything about the topic that you're presenting, but also maybe leave out stuff that you yourself think is not that interesting, especially in a very short video. So just make it interesting, highlight the really important aspects of your topic. Then maybe another question here that I'm not 100% sure about, but are we allowed to use the IAF or IAC logos in our slides? I think my inclination would be that if you use it on like the title slides to basically show the context of what you are, way you're presenting this, then it should definitely be fine. I think if you make it look like you are part of the IAF, then maybe, I don't know, but I don't know if the others have more input on that.
I don't really know the answer. I would tend not to, unless you're representing the organization or a member of a committee. I would put up your university, your company logo, your national flag. There will be people there from all over the world. So you have lots of ways to put up logos, add color to your presentation, but I don't know the official policies, but I would tend not to want to put the logos on if I was not representing the organization.
Well, and not only that, I think you need permission at some point, unless they give you a template like we talked about, where those logos are already there. It probably is not a good idea to just assume that you can use the IAF logo. It's not a simple question of deciding to use it on your own. I believe that you need permission. Is that not correct, Patrick?
Well, I think if you're using the Congress logo on your topic on your first slide to just show this is presented at the IAC, or maybe in the corner of your presentation throughout. I assume it's fine, but I think I would tend to not do it because you probably want to highlight, yeah, like you just said, you want to highlight your affiliation more than the Congress. Then another question here: can co-authors participate in the video or only the main author?
I don't know. For such a short 10-minute thing, you don't want, I don't think it would be helpful to have more than one speaker.
Yeah.
I think it's probably better to limit it to one, but if the person giving the video talk is a co-author but not the lead author, I think that would certainly be okay.
Yeah, so I've seen presentations at the IAC itself where more than one person presents, but that's usually not recommended, as it creates a bit of a weird setup. So especially for a short video where you're going to be on camera in the corner of the slide, switching speakers is probably not recommended. So I don't know if it's just permitted or not. I would assume it's probably okay, but I would definitely advise against it.
Yeah, I agree.
Then another question: would you say it's better to have less in the PowerPoint and say more during the presentation?
That's always a good. It's a very good question. So much of it depends on what your topic is. If it's an astrodynamics topic and you have to show some complex formula, if it's, in my sense, it's better to speak to the audience and just use the PowerPoints to hit the really key points, to really hit the 3 or 4 key topics that you're trying to present, and then speak to those topics. So you're talking and you're using the PowerPoint to reinforce the key items that you're hitting, but you definitely don't want a whole lot of, tiny bullets and stuff. Some people get too far down in the weeds. And remember, you could always refer people to your full paper. So this 10-minute is a teaser. This is not your final presentation in Dubai, nor is it your final paper. It's a 10-minute, less than 10 slide presentation that you hope will interest people, get them to come to see your paper and read the full paper when the proceedings come out.
I always thought the advice is best to not have more than 6 words per line and not more than 6 lines on your slide, so that should be your maximum target. If you do more, then it's a little bit too much to read. You can definitely do less. So sometimes less is more on that, but it should be poignant and descriptive of what you want to convey. I think you want to highlight, you want to put the highlight of your message on the slide, then talk about it.
And I noticed we have a related question about video, and basically you want to focus on you. If it's a modeling paper, a simulation, and you want to show some of that, yes, of course. But in general, you don't want a big spinning globe there just gathering people's attention when you're trying to speak down in the corner. So in general, you don't want to put a whole lot of motion in the slides unless it's really the heart of what you want to present, as in some sort of modeling or simulation that is at the heart of what you're trying to do. But while you're speaking, you really don't want a whole lot of extraneous motion just going on behind you. It just pulls the focus away from you.
Yeah, and that ties into another question here, whether you should add animation in PowerPoint. And again, I would say don't. You never know exactly how they're going to show up, whether it's on the video or even in person. So it's much easier if it's a static slide and it doesn't distract as much, and you know basically how it's going to behave.
Yeah.
And then here question is the topic of the paper in depth better, or is it more broad overview better or desired? So
I would do the broad overview. Again, this is not your paper. This is not your final presentation in Dubai. So I would hit the high points and present it in such a way that you make people want to come to see your paper. So I would perhaps approach it in that way. You don't want to tell everyone everything about your PhD research over 6 years in 10 slides.
Yeah. Then how do you open and how do you end your video presentation? So
very good questions. Very good questions. You want to do an enticing opening, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And if you can figure out how to do it, it might be a very good idea to have the first 15 seconds just you in the frame, rather than your PowerPoint with you down in a little tiny corner in the bottom, so that people can see you, can feel like they're talking to someone. But you definitely want to spend a good bit of time on your opening slide and your opening statement, and also on the conclusions. So in teaching here in the US, we have a very old saying that you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. And so your opening should be enticing and interesting, make them want to watch the rest of the video. Then you present the body of your presentation, but you always want to have a conclusion, a really good conclusion, and both on your PowerPoint, but also in your speaking. Some people in their presentations and papers, and you're kind of waiting because you don't know if they finished or not. You're kind of, it's a pause, you're not sure, are they just stopping or is this over? So be sure to have a good definitive ending to the presentation. It could be a summation, it could be thanking the audience, but you want to have a good opening that makes them want to watch the rest of the video. And then at the end, you want to have a good summary. And you always want to make sure that you have a finishing statement, so it's clear that this is it. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, then should the video presentation and the presentation at the IAC be the same? So the same slides or content?
They certainly, there's no reason to redo everything. So I would use the video slides as the basis, perhaps, of your final presentation, but you'll have more time in your presentation in Dubai. So you can add more detail, you can speak longer, but there's no point in completely redoing things. So I would approach it as doing your video presentation first. It's shorter and a higher level, and then you can work on your final actual presentation for Dubai. Same slide layout, same graphics, but you can add some more detail and go a little bit more in depth.
Okay, then couple basically quick ones here. What is better, the memorized speech or the use of prompter app?
Wow. Could I address that, please? Sorry,
Sure.
I had to duck out for a moment. A repair guy came to my house and there was nobody to answer.
No problem.
Anyway, I think that if you have on your computer the little dialog box at the bottom that you can use to prompt yourself, I would try to use that and limit the amount of extra stuff you have to prompt yourself. If you practice enough, just a few key words will help you to do that. I would put less text on my slides and fill in, talk around your text. Have a few key things that you want people to remember, and then you fill in, but don't put that on your screen. Put that in your little prompter dialog box that only you can see. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, no, I agree. The worst thing is to have people reading, and so you can see that I have presented a paper on and that's terrible. Nobody wants to be read to. And it's almost as bad if you have a memorized speech that you feel you have to do word for word. The goal here is for this to be conversational. So you want people to feel like you are talking to them. Look at the camera. Know where your camera is. Mine's right up there. There it is. Look at the camera. Don't look up at the screen. It's terrible when people say, hello, my name is Scott. I'm going to talk to you today. And you've immediately lost. So find where mine has a little green dot. Find that little green dot. Talk to the green dot. You want it to be conversational in such a way that people feel like you're talking to them and not. So it's fine to memorize. Carol's right. Just hit the high points, have the key points, but you want to speak to the audience.
Yeah.
And remember, just like I showed you, look at what happens when I tilt my head up. My eyes go away and all you can see is my glasses. So focusing on that camera is important so that you don't distort your image on the screen.
Yeah.
And you can use your, like Carol said, the section in PowerPoint that where you put your notes. But I think it's best if you use the slide to guide you and basically keep the keywords on the slide, obviously, as the text. And if it's something that you want to make sure that you want to say during the presentation, then it's probably important enough that you want to put it on the slide anyway. So basically, use that to guide your talk, but don't memorize. Then the next question is the choice of background, so light or dark one. I think Scott mentioned that during the talk, but you can mention again.
Yeah, one of the issues, space people love to use the black background. It's space, it's the final frontier, but it doesn't show up as well. And it looks great on your screen, but when you get into a room and the room is not completely black, you will have, there is ambient light. And when people come in and open and close the door in the back, you get light into the room. And it doesn't look nearly as good, the black background, in that kind of a situation, whereas a lighter background, and there have actually been several scientific studies that have been done about this, and they all agree that a white or near white, this presentation you're watching here is not actually white, it's a very, very pale light blue. But much of the research that has been done, and just I agree completely, is that dark text on a lighter background is preferable, but largely this is a matter of personal taste, and there's no PowerPoint police out there going to tell you what to do. Carol?
And if you're talking about the background for your video, Please do not use some of the screen backgrounds. Like everybody seems to love that Aurora Borealis background. And the light keeps, fading in and out. Do not use any background that has any motion or color change at all. Make sure, again, as we said earlier, that what you choose is not distracting to your viewer.
Yeah, and so you're gonna have to practice this video. Don't set about doing this after work on the deadline day. Do, as Carol said, do a couple of practice run-throughs, just 30 seconds, and then watch it and see, how does that look? How does it sound? Am I looking at the green dot? Do some practice runs with this. So you want this to come out well. And so as we said several times, start on this now, take a little baby step, set it up, watch the video, see how to do it. But it's, to do this well will take some time and effort, but it will very much be worth it.
Also, if you are, for some reason, have to use a dark or even black background, be sure that your text is big enough. If you're using very small font, light text on a dark background, it's not readable at all. So at that point, you really need to have a really big font.
And some people have corporate templates they have to use. And so some are constrained, but the size and font is really important.
And if you do have, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, just try it out and see what it looks like on your computer first.
Right, and if you do have to use a dark background and you're limited to white text or yellow text, I think the white text shows up better. I've looked at some of these, and the yellow sometimes tends to fuzz a little bit. So if you must use a dark background, have the clearest, whitest text that you can.
Then the next question here, can we add subtitles?
Oh, interesting. If you think it would help to communicate your message, I don't see why you couldn't. If you're a non-native English speaker and people tell you you have a heavy accent and it's difficult to understand you sometimes, perhaps having subtitles might be a good idea. I would not put them in if you think people can understand you clearly, because I find them to be a distraction. I tend to read them anyway. Even it's like a cat, it's a little bouncing ball, and I read it, and I'm not looking at that person. I'm not looking in their eyes. I'm not watching their face. So don't put it in if you don't think you need it. But if you really think it will help to communicate your message, I don't see why not. Carol?
I think that Scott is right. Also, if you have the important information on your slide, having subtitles underneath there that basically tell you what's on the slide is not going to help people. It's going to distract them. So maybe a judicious use of subtitles if you're completely talking away from what's on the slide to emphasize something or make a point. Maybe 1 or 2 subtitles for that would be helpful. But I think if you have the information on the slide, it's better to just try to speak slowly and clearly and let people see what's on the slide that relates directly to what you're saying, so that they're not distracted by subtitles that basically repeat the information.
Okay, so then let's come to our last question here. As a result of today's video, will we get an opportunity to swap the video for an improved version?
The lightning videos he's talking about, those little 1-minute ones that they already turned in. I don't
know.
so.
Perhaps Stefan or
they can update.
Us.
Yeah, they can update the video, so
these
can be updated.
Oh, good. Okay, but not this one.
Very good. Yes, that's great. That's great.
Okay,
So
so I guess these are the last question. Just another remark on that this video will be available on YouTube to watch again. If you are already watching this as a rebroadcast, then you can go ahead and watch all other videos on the IAF channel. Do that right now. Otherwise, yeah, thanks to Carol and Scott for this presentation, and hand it over to you for the closing remarks here.
well, thank you guys so much for taking some time. I hope this was useful for you. The reason we do this is to try to help you succeed. All of you can do this. All of you can become excellent presenters, excellent video presenters. It just takes a little time and effort and energy. We hope this webinar will give you enough of a start to where you can begin. Please provide us feedback. We really want to know if this is useful or not. How can we do a better job? Our goal is to improve always. So please provide us your feedback so we can improve it. Also, please consider attending our free program on Sunday before the Congress begins. We would love to have you there, and we look forward to seeing you in Dubai. If you see Carol or I in Dubai, please stop us and say, hey, I saw your video, that was cool. We would love to see that. Carol?
Yeah, I second everything Scott has said. And I noticed that there were quite a few questions that we did not have time to answer. And I believe if you put your questions up on the chat in YouTube, or just send them to support@IAF Astro, which is where the contact information is. And we will try to answer your questions individually or post them somewhere on the website where you can see them, because I think there were at least 5 more questions that we did not have time to answer.
Okay, well then, again, thanks to both of you for guiding us through this presentation, and thanks to the IAF PS Lab for hosting this. And yeah, we'll see you soon here online and at the IC in Dubai. Take care.
Bye.